Man, there really is a lot of interesting thoughts around Dante Moore. There's a lot of interesting talk surrounding Dante Moore this offseason. Like, there is a group of people, I think there's a group of people within the Oregon fan base that's saying, well, should we pump the brakes a little bit? I know we're optimistic and we know we're excited about the talent he is, but is he being overhyped a little bit? People are talking about Heisman when they're talking about Dante Moore. And then you have, on the other side, there is maybe a little bit of disrespect being floated out there as concerned with Dante Moore. For example, on the latter, you have Bud Elliott and Smoke Dixon of CBS Sports and 24/7 that recently put out their top 5 Big Ten quarterbacks. Smoke had a true freshman from Maryland by the name of Malik Washington, who I don't know how many games he's going to play this year even. Bryce Underwood, another true freshman, ahead of Dante Moore on his list. You go to the other side with Bud, and he had Damon Williams from Washington all the way up at number 2. Do I think Damon's going to be a really good quarterback? Yeah, I do. Do I think he's going to be number 2 in the Big Ten? I'm not so sure, especially as we're sitting here in the month of May looking forward at things right now. I think when you look at the disrespect specifically of Dante Moore and maybe the hesitation of some folks of Dante Moore, I think it's because of what's on film over there at UCLA. Here's what I want to say about his time over there at UCLA. First of all, when you play a true freshman at quarterback, especially in today's day and age of college football in the Big Ten or the SEC, I know that was the last year of the Pac-12 when he started over there. It's not going to be a glowing success right away, no matter what happens when you start a freshman quarterback. Not only that, but if you start a freshman quarterback in a scheme that doesn't really fit him, and that's what was going on with Chip Kelly over there, I think they wanted him to be somebody else than I think what really fit his skill set best. They kind of wanted Dante to mold into Chip, and Chip really needed to mold into Dante. I think that was really kind of part of what happened over there at UCLA. And then you put him behind a bad offensive line. Dante got sacked 16 times in 9 games, and the Bruins offensive line allowed 42 sacks that season. That was 122nd in college football. So you put that all together and you put it in the oven, and I think you just get a bad situation. And I think at times during that UCLA season, where Dante Moore played, 4 or 5 games in total, where it was quarterback musical chairs there for a little bit. When you put him in there to start the season and then you pull him out there, that doesn't, and then you put him back in a little bit later on, that doesn't exactly do a lot of confidence. I think Chip was kind of staring at a problem in the face at that point for UCLA. It'd be all right, do I want to win a little bit more games right now? Or do I want to see Dante kind of work some of these things out, work out the kinks, and start to develop a little bit? He chose, I want to win some football games. Because as we know now, he was not invested as being the head coach at UCLA very long term. To be honest with you, I think it's really hard to evaluate Dante, and I think that some people are doing that, and it's a little unfair, but I think it's really hard to evaluate Dante at UCLA because, frankly, I think we're going to see a completely different quarterback this year. I think him sitting and learning in this day and age of the portal, and in this day and age, in this generation of player where so many players want to get on the field right away, I think that was extremely mature of Dante because I think he could kind of see the end goal. And because of him sitting and learning behind Dylan Gabriel, learning in these quarterback meetings, learning from offensive coordinator Will Stein and this entire offensive coaching staff, he's going to be a much more mature quarterback. Now, I know he didn't get the experience of literally going onto the field, reading a defense, making good decisions, but absorbing what this Oregon offense is, and it's very, very different than what UCLA's offense is, I think is going to give him a better chance at success when he steps onto the field this year in 2025 for the Oregon Ducks. Now, I think a big reason, going back to the other side of the coin, where it's like, and maybe this guy's being overhyped a little bit, is because of the system he's going into. And where I find confidence is within the system. Like, I see Dante and I see his talent, and that's great. But when I look at what Will Stein does with quarterbacks and what he puts on the plate of quarterbacks and the weapons that are in this Oregon offense, that's what excites me the most. That's, I think, what should excite you the most. And I think that's where, when you kind of venture into, like, Joel Klatt has him as a dark horse Heisman candidate. He said it during his post-spring edition of the Joel Klatt show. Like, I think that's a big reason what people look into. They look at the system. They look at the weapons with, like, Evan Stewart to throw the ball to. The speed that he has. You look at Decorian Moore, Superfrost. You look at Kenyon Sadiq. Like, you look at all of these guys to throw the football to. I could throw for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns when I'm throwing the ball to 18, when I'm throwing the ball to Dak, when I'm throwing the ball to East 2 on the outside. Like, and then I want to talk about the system now at Oregon. Will Stein preaches a very protect the ball type of offense. Short passes, get it to your playmakers in space. Efficiency is something that's been preached a lot. I know something that we all want to see Dante do this season is unleash the deep ball, push it down the middle of the field, take it to a different level that Dillon Gabriel was not able to do last year. I understand that. But part of the magic that is Oregon's offense is short passing game, medium passing game, and keep on moving the stick. So when you get a favorable matchup, you can then take advantage. That's what we saw a couple of years ago with Bo Nix in 2023. And now I want to talk about Bo, because I've really put a lot more thought into this lately. Is you look at the situation with Bo Nix at Auburn, you look at the situation with UCLA or with Dante Moore at UCLA. Now, they're not a complete copy and paste. Bo, I think, played, 3 years at Auburn? Dante Moore played 1 year, half a year, whatever you want to call it, over there at UCLA. There are some similarities, but there also are some differences. Like, Bo Nix did not sit out. Hey, Dante Moore sat out learning from this offense, learning from Dillon Gabriel, learning from Will Stein, as I said before. But I think Bo Nix really paved a path that Dante Moore can certainly run on. Like, you look at Bo, he threw 16 interceptions in 3 years down there on the Plains. He combined for 10 interceptions in 2 years at Oregon. It was very clear when he stepped into this room, like, he was a 5-star talent coming out of high school. When he stepped into this room, when he stepped into this system, when he stepped on foot at Autzen Stadium, it was very clear what his talent truly was. And it was very clear what Will Stein could certainly do with him. Now, Will Stein was 2023. Kenny Dillingham was 2022. But I see a similar type of trajectory for Dante. I talked about this a little bit over on last year's show. And this kind of goes into, okay, what can we realistically expect from Dante Moore? Because some people are overhyping him and saying Heisman. Some people are disrespecting him and saying, yeah, he's going to be a middle-of-the-road quarterback in the Big Ten. I don't know if either of those are true. Because I think the trajectory is more like Bo. I think we could see a similar type of 2-year plan for the Ducks working up to a fantastic 2026, because I think a lot of people believe that 2026 is the championship year for the Ducks. And 2025 as a team, hey, maybe they could do it. Maybe they could break through. But I think realistic expectations are, we see as far as Oregon standards are concerned, we see a really good to great season in 2025. Does he get to those Heisman finalist type of expectations? Maybe. But I don't think as fans we should say, well, Dante Moore should be a Heisman finalist because the last 2 years of Heisman of Oregon quarterbacks were. Well, Bo Nix was not a Heisman finalist in 2022. And I think that's the path. I think that's where we're trying to operate. I think in so many ways, Oregon is operating in not like a macro window, but maybe like a micro window of 2 years to be able to really maximize Dante's talent on campus and as well as Dacorian Moore's talent as well. I think it's kind of a microcosm of this 2025 team of just how much youth there is on this team, how much inexperience as there is on this team. So is Dante Moore a quarterback that's outside in the Big Ten? No, he's not, because I feel like Oregon and Ohio State quarterbacks, just based on the systems that they're in, they should be like top 5 quarterbacks every year in the Big Ten. Maybe even top 5 quarterbacks in college football every single year, depending, of course, on how the talent looks like in that room. But should they be expected to be Heisman finalists and Heisman winners every year? No, probably not. Where are we gonna land? I think we're gonna land somewhere in between. And I think Dante Moore's trajectory is going to be a lot like this team's trajectory in certain seasons. They're young. Maybe these first couple of games, there's going to be some kinks that are going to be worked out. But your hope is that this thing is humming. This thing is running and gunning when you get to game 11, when you get to game 12, and then when you get in, hopefully, into the college football playoff. And then you can really see Dante slinging it like we know that he can sling it, and he's really starting to turn over into that elite level quarterback. So is he being disrespected? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Is he being overhyped? Also, yeah, maybe a little bit. Where will he realistically land? It always seems to be somewhere in the middle, doesn't it?